To go live, right? So, okay. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Voice of Women Innovation Speaker Series. As you know, this group and this informal network has the main mission of really helping women to advance in their career in innovation, but also to increase the women's involvement in decision making and in innovation teams. What we do is this speaker series is once a month, and we invite brilliant women who talk about innovation, talk about women's issue in different sectors. Might be education, might be AI, might be STEM. Today we'll talk about health, which is a very important matter in our life. And we also do articles, basically many here Hope, me, and others have done different articles to kind of advocate about these important issues of how women should be, how all the products basically that we design should be taking into consideration women's needs. And doesn't matter if it's education or health, because 98% of the purchasing decisions are made by women. We like it or not, and they are an important basically component in terms of business as well. So it's not just, we have to involve women because they are 50% of the population, but we have to involve women because in the end, we are making a big economic mistake, basically, if we don't involve them. That's great. And we are always talking in our meetings about challenges that kind of women have in their career. I think every woman, despite of where they are, if it's innovation or somewhere else, they have challenges, if they have kids or not. But in particular, an innovation career, that we know that you have to be a change maker. It's even more difficult because you are usually an outsider, despite if you are a man or a woman, and you are always seeing like the new kid on the block that is coming up with crazy ideas, and nobody likes all these ideas, and probably is not the one who is making money now. And imagine now when you are a woman that this is duplicated or multiplied, I would say. So overall, we invite everyone who is not part of this group to be part of this group and talk more, contribute more, and this really give more emphasis, give the right emphasis to this issue. So I would like not to lose any more time, but start introducing the speaker for today. Me and Salmin, I'm going to introduce the speaker, and Salmin, my colleague, is going to be the moderator of this session. Salmin, if you can help me with the bio in the meantime. So the speaker for today is Hope. Hope is, I'm really happy to have her here. Actually, she has done also one brilliant article. She's going to talk from challenge to change, the power of women's voices in innovation. She's an innovation leader with a background in pharmacology, more than a decade of experience in global medical industry, including over 10 years at 3M Healthcare. Her career spans across healthcare, intellectual property, product development, where she has led international projects bridging science, business, and innovation. She is the COO of Go Vertical ICM, US-based research and development firm that partners with inventors to bring these breakthrough products to market with a strong emphasis on women's health and medical devices. And she will tell us a little bit more how this was an issue which was underrated probably or overseen, and what this company, with of course the help of Hope, is doing. And she's also the CEO of Michael and Hope IP, supporting innovators worldwide to protect and scale their ideas. Her work comes from a personal also, a personal, I would say, not just willingness, but I think she has proved that in her skin, that how it is to be overseen or to be basically undermined, basically when you have health issues as a woman. And she developed Hope Project, a movement dedicated to advancing women's health, fintech, and women-led innovation. And this initiative is quite essential to prevent uterine fibroids and track their often silent symptoms, enabling earlier diagnosis so you don't go through basically unfortunate situations that some of these women go. And intervention, so basically you can treat this. So her mission: transform the way innovation serves women, create systems where female founders, patients alike, are not just heard, but are placed at the center of change and hope. I can't not mention this, but your work is quite transformational, basically, in what you are doing. Women and health. There are so many statistics which are shocking, right? This is my question to you before you start the presentation. If you can stop sharing the screen and bring Hope here. So, Hope, basically, my question to you is, you know, we've heard that only 2% of the research, so 2% funding goes for researching maternity, pregnancy, and all these kind of issues. But it's not only that, right? Because people believe that health regarding women is only about reproductive health, but it's not that. We know that even in cardiovascular diseases, that most of the symptoms basically that doctors treat are based on the symptoms that a man feels. Like, for example, we feel not chest pain but feel back pain, for example, and all of us know, oh, if you have chest pain there might be a heart disease. And then I know that 7 in 10 women in most of these diseases, PCOS and all this, go undiagnosed. Basically, endometriosis hasn't been seen as a disease at all. And many of these, basically, which kind of, if you go layer by layer, you will see that it's shocking how an important sector of the life, which is health, is completely undermined. And when it comes to women, I know it, your desire, or let's say your passion, came also because of your personal issue, but it's something much more than that, right? Like, okay, beside that personal issue, where else was the trigger for you to really dedicate your life, your work in women's I mean, advancing the innovation in health, in particular for women?
It always starts with unmet needs. So when you look at you as a woman and you look around yourself and you see that everything that is designed, created is not typically for you, and in some cases it's not working, then you have to understand that, can I do something better? Can I do something that really works for me? My uterine fibroid experience was the proof, because when I was diagnosed, there was no treatment other than going through surgery. But every woman, if we look around us, we don't have prevention for uterine fibroids. We don't have treatments, medication treatments for uterine fibroids. And when you dig deeper into women's health, as you mentioned, we have issues in cardiovascular problems, we have mental health issues. When our cortisol level changes, it affects us differently in ways that it affects men. So this will lead to more physical problems. This will lead to more women health related reproductive system problems. And eventually, the medications, the treatments that are currently available are not completely working for us. So this is why, true, underfunded, yes, but it's time that we do something different. And this is why we started this process with the uterine fibroid. I've been struggling with that for the last 7 years. I did my surgery, I removed my 18 centimeter. However, until today, there is no prevention methods, there is no treatment that would change my current situation. But it's time to start from somewhere. There are a lot of new initiatives regarding women health. There are a lot of funds being moved for women health, yes, but we are still far away in research. We have missed years and years of research that are dedicated to women and done by women, so we can really understand the connection between health and the treatments, the prevention methods that are out there already. And then this will change everything. Might be one day, we're gonna have medication that is treating women cardiovascular diseases, women mental health issues differently from men, and having different type of medications, different type of treatments regardless of our own reproductive problems, such as uterine fibroids, such as endometriosis, such as perimenopause, such as menopause, which are still until today also underdiagnosed.
That's true. Hope, thank you very much, and we hope you will enlighten us a little bit even more, like with your work. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. So let me share my screen first. So, hello everyone. I'm Hope Khoury. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Go Vertical ICM, Michael and Hope IP, Michael and Hope Georgia, and I starting and launching the Hope Project. So, what we're going to talk about today is women health. This topic has been trending in the last few years, but this year particularly, it has been a great movement in this particular topic. But why this topic matters? When we look at our current landscape in women's health and our perspectives, they are still underserved in terms of innovation. There are a huge gap, as you mentioned, Arila. We have less than 3% of global venture funding. This is important because we are lacking the funds and support when it comes to research before of launching any new product. So innovation cannot be completed when women needs are left behind. And diversity, I'm not talking but about just gender, because we are participating as a woman, but in terms of perspective as well, is what leads to more human-centered solutions and effective solutions. And that's why this conversation matters. So, have you ever faced a challenge that made you think, there must be a better way? I asked myself this question that day when I started my journey. But the question is to you and to each one of you. Innovation doesn't start in a lab or in a boardroom. It starts with frustration, observation, and a lived experience. Every time a woman says, there must be a better way, that's the spark of innovation, and this is how it starts. And often that spark comes from navigating challenges that systems are never designed to address. So, when health became my turning point, me personally, I was 28 years old. I was diagnosed with an 18 centimeter uterine fibroid, a condition that you hear about it every day. It affects millions of women around the world. It actually affects 70% of women. But what was my problem is, I was shocked that it wasn't the problem just in diagnosis, it was the problem in research, in funding, in prevention methods, and in treatments. So there was little prevention, medication treatments are almost none, and research and funding, and most importantly, educational awareness existed for something so common was null. It was a wake up call for me. And that day, when I had my surgery, I spent 5 hours in surgery, which is abnormal for such cases. But it was threatening most of my organs like colon, bladder, uterus. And after I removed it, I realized that moving forward, I don't have something that would prevent me from this to happen again. And this was my moment, the moment that shifted me from being the patient to being the advocate, and from the advocate to being the innovator. I have a pharmacology background. Yes. It's helping me to create a prevention method for uterine fibroid. Yes. But it is more than just a medical challenge. It was a call to action to reimagine women's health through innovation and, most importantly, through empathy. So, from challenge to innovation, how does this happen in the real world? Due to our type of work with Go Vertical ICM, which is a research and development company, what we see every day when we want to innovate, we look for the challenge, we notice the gap. And today, as we mentioned, it is an under-researched industry. We ask questions. And when it happened to me, I asked questions. How can I prevent it? How can I treat it next time without having to go through surgery? What if people living these challenges were the one designing the solutions? What if women living these challenges were the ones designing the solution? That question led to the creation, in my case, of a prevention method and a tracking system that would allow us to understand what's happening in our body, what are the hormonal changes in our body to be able to detect early as possible uterine fibroids. So when we talk about innovation in general, we notice the gap. We ask the question, and once we do, we can take an action. And this is what is innovation. So if we go to the word innovation, what is the essence of it? Innovation begins when we pay attention to what's missing, but most importantly, we dare to imagine better. So, as I mentioned, it never starts in a lab or through a technology. It's through the mindset and how we want to bring and begin with the awareness, how we want to change this reality into a better one. Innovation begins when we pay attention, and we pay attention when we see there is an unmet need in our personal life and then translate it into a solution. We are uniquely positioned to notice gaps. We have this within our mental system, within our brains, and we often had to live within them. Awareness is where innovation truly begins. When you are aware of your problem, you can create easily the solution. But the most important thing is to start speaking, because silence will never change anything. The power of women's perspective. When I talk about women and women in innovation, we're not just talking about product, we're talking about a perspective. As we started this conversation today, when women lead in innovation, it's not just about our system or our body. Solutions become more inclusive and more practical and more human, because we are emotional creatures, but we see things differently. And the implementation of that will be different in our systems as well. So we can bring insights that can improve usability, accessibility, and emotional connection, because we design from empathy, not abstraction. Because when women voices are missing in a process, not just in women health, solutions are always incomplete, even when it comes to a solution that is common between two genders. When a woman is at the table, innovation becomes a whole. And a new lens for you about innovation. When we talk about innovation, it's not just tech, it's not a product, it's not a consumer product, it's not something tangible that you can carry, it's also a perspective. So think of a mother redesigning healthcare systems, think of a mother redesigning the childcare system. Think of a founder creating workplace that has equality tools. Think of a femtech innovator redefining hormonal health. It can be all of that. It's not just a product. Every one of these examples begins with a lived experience that was turned into a scalable solution. And that's the new lens we must bring into innovation. one rooted in understanding, not in assumption and not in guesswork. 3 steps to create change. Each one of us, if today we ask ourselves the question, what's going on around me? What are the challenges that I have in my life and in my community? And every unmet need is the seed of innovation. When we detect or notice these challenges, the next and the most important step is to speak up, sharing the idea, talking about it, because silence never changes anything. Silence is only going to just let you think about your idea every day and say, I wish I did something. But when you start to speak up, people will help you. And when you start to speak up, you will see that you're not the only one facing this challenge. There are so many much more, and we need to support each other and help each other to create these solutions. And finally, it's time to act. It's time to take one step, no matter how small. And each action we take will transform our idea into a reality. So, when women turn challenges into change, society advances with them. And this is applicable not just to women's health, it's applicable to every aspect in our well being, in our presence. When we participate in every challenge, in every solution, we are changing the society with us. And this is what matters. Because every time a woman innovates, whether in science, in design, in healthcare, or even in leadership, she's not just solving her own problems, she's transforming systems for everyone who comes after her. Because we have it in our system, we have it in our biology, because we are born women to be one day, if we want to, mothers. And this is what mothers do. And finally, thank you. I hope you join us in rewriting women's health. For every one of you who has one simple and lived experience that could lead to a certain innovation or idea, we are happy to have you on board. And for our uterine fibroid project, we are aiming to stop fibroids before they start. So we are launching our project tomorrow, and we are going to go until the end so we can be able to launch our research and then our products and start preventing uterine fibroids from being in our existence. Oops, fuck.
Thank you so much, Hope. That was an incredible presentation. I loved hearing your story, and that aligns with me personally because I also, well, I'm not going to say also, but I struggle with health issues, genetic health issues, and that spoke to me personally. So, and I had to peep at your presentation before everybody else. So I had planned a few questions to know you a bit. I just want to tell everyone who's here, all of our beautiful audience, to put in the chat if you have any questions, insights, anything you want to share with Hope or ask Hope. I'm gonna start with my own question and a question from a friend who couldn't attend. So, given the significant innovation gap that you talked about, and Erla also talked about earlier, where the female inventors, founders, innovators receive very little funding to do their research, especially when it comes to R&D, right? What is the single most, you think, for you impactful strategy you have found for getting initial support and funding for a women's health innovation, like the Hope Project in this case? So any impactful strategy that you would recommend for our audience today, researchers, scientists, innovators?
In our case, what we are doing, we are trying to target grants, and tomorrow we're launching our crowdfunding campaign. At some point, you need to prove that science works. And investors, to this extent today, they are only looking at technologies created by men or technologies that are more related into fast consumer products that would allow them to grow. But women health funds today are becoming more and more funded through the recent strategies that we've heard, let's say from the Gates Foundation and so on. But still, it's not enough. It's too little based on the gap that we have. So what we are trying to do, we proved science on a paper now. We're going to try to catch up with grants. We're going to try to catch up with crowdfunding. And I believe having women as investors as well as having women as innovator is equally the same. And only a woman can understand how critical and how crucial it is for a disease, let's say like uterine fibroid, to have or affect a woman's body. So this is also crucial and this is also growing. And for me personally, when I'm gonna get investors on board, I will only get women because they will only understand this vision in this particular matter, and it will change the whole perspective.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love that. I love that you said there's also female investors, and hopefully we'll try to bring these female investors in and connect them with entrepreneurs like yourself. So we have a question from the audience, and then we'll go back to my other question. In your view, from Erla, in your view, what's the most underestimated area of health innovation that deserves more attention? How do you see AI, biotech, and digital health changing opportunities for women in the next decade?
I would say all of them, but I would say digital health, we are progressing. But today you see a lot of apps, a lot of AI tech that are dispersed into so many applications. The point is how we can connect them all together to create more strict results, more dedicated results, because you know your body is different from my body, and how your hormones respond are different from how my hormones respond. So what we need to do is to work together more, to be able to how to say, complement all these technologies together instead of having one technology here, one technology there. I was having a conversation the other day with a femtech leader, and she was telling me that we are trying to consolidate the data, because now when you have so much data but it's dispersed, you cannot translate it into something tangible. This is from one side, from a biotech perspective. Since I come from the pharmacology world, we don't have enough solutions in terms of pharmaceuticals that would actually treat the actual problem. It's always managing the symptom. It's never treating the cause of what's causing our system to be harmed, or a disease, or for example, uterine fibroid, endometriosis. We don't have any sort of medication for that. But if I was given this choice, if I was diagnosed early as well, I would have avoided all this traumatic event that happened in my life. So I would say it's a combination of many, many sectors that are still gapped in terms of women health. We have a lot of work to do. We are so much behind, but the good thing is that we started doing something about it, and that is important.
I love that. I love that. And listen, I want to say something from personal experience, professional and personal. I've ran femtech incubation and acceleration. Well, not fully femtech, but we had femtech startups. And like you said, like the funding is less important, and unless it's a female inventor, innovator, investor, expert, then people don't get it in the same way. But still, we shouldn't be alienating our male
Yeah,
counterpart, inviting
of
them to
course
the
not.
conversation. But you mentioned something that's a segue to my other question, which is the data, information, and resources silos that we see all over. With femtech specifically, as an industry, as a space that's growing, we see a lot of research that stays in lab at PhDs at universities, not like going into commercialization essentially. Do you see
Yeah.
any power in that, like in those research papers or
We use them. Yes, we can use them, and we do use them. When we developed the uterine fibroid structure, we used one of them, and they never did anything with that. But at some point, we have to push these people because these are the brain, this is science. If we push them to pursue more and more and more, it's going to make our life easier, faster, so we can be able to create more solutions, to be able to bring them to the market. Not every scientist is a business leader, but the point is, if we have access also to this data and we know how to deal with this data, it's time to use it and make the most out of it. We have used the inflammatory sequence from a research paper on how it affects uterine fibroid and targeted these elements in the process. So we created the prevention method. But for now, it's all on paper. We don't know if in practical life it's going to work. And this is our next step, the preclinical validation testing. But to answer your question, yes, we're seeing this a lot. And what to do about it? Just trying to gather this data and just trying to help these researchers, just push them to go further than just having this research in a lab for their PhD thesis, because it really matters and it will change a lot.
Mm, mm. Absolutely. I'm going to ask a question from the audience and then I go back
Go
to,
ahead.
that point. Do you think it is difficult? This is from Kathy. Thank you, Kathy. Do you think it is difficult to get the initial investment because there isn't an interest or understanding of the problem, and or whether it can be reimbursed? Not sure I understand the last section of the question. If you want to elaborate, Kathy, but yeah.
Here's the deal. Because we work with innovators every day, not just in women health, and we've taken 250 inventors to the market so far. It is hard, no. It is how you present it. It is how you're targeting your investors. There is a misunderstanding in the business on whenever I have an idea, I present it to an investor, and this investor either say yes or no. No, it's not like that. First, we create the data. We show that based on this data, this product is of value. And it is of value because it's going to change this industry. How big is this industry? How it's going to change the industry, and how it's going to affect the whole overall business. Investors, when they want to invest in pre-seed, they want to understand that this founder knows the risk and how they are willing to de-risk it.
Mhm.
And investors are looking for founders with vision. If we are able to highlight this in every inventor and founder and their inventions, then we succeed even if it's a pre-seed stage.
So
Mm.
can I ask a follow-up to that?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Kathy. Yeah.
Hi, I'm just thinking about the reimbursement part, knowing that women's health is reimbursed less than.
Yeah.
I've found it often difficult with investors because to get funding, in the fact that they're looking at what the reimbursement is and what can be charged and what their return on investment can be, right, as it compared to cardiovascular or neurovascular, some of those other fields.
In some cases, it is. Let's say if you're talking about an IVF medical device, let's say, or we're talking about something that is extremely advanced, yes, it affects if it's going to be reimbursed. But here is our strength. When we are working on the project, what we can create is to see how we can navigate the regulatory pathway to lead to this kind of reimbursement, or what is the pathway to be able to do so. But it answering your question, yes, it does.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Hope. I have another question from the audience.
Go
What
ahead.
are some of the most exciting innovations led by women that are transforming healthcare today? So the audience can get inspired, like if you can guide them in any direction.
Wow, this is too big. It's too
The Hope Project is one of them. Go follow. Tomorrow is the crowdsourcing.
I cannot be biased.
And tomorrow you're launching your crowdfunding. So that's a great
Yeah,
deal.
but I would say every project that I've seen so far, I've worked with more than 10 women so far with Go Vertical to launch their femtech products. And every project matters. One of them was breastfeeding pump. One of them was related to babies. One of them, babies and mother. One of them was related to sexual wellness. Our own project as well. But the thing is, every project matters because it's changing 1% of what we are experiencing. Now we're developing something related to hormones to trace the hormones of young girls. So I cannot be very objective about this and tell you one or two or three things. I believe every innovation we're creating is something that is going to change women's health step by step. But until then, we have to keep doing better. We have to push for research. We have to push for better science because the gap starts there.
Mm, I love that. And that's a segue to going back to my question. We talked about the data silos. We talked about the misaligned, let's say, research space or industry. And femtech, well, even though it's getting more popular, it's still not getting the same amount of funding or spotlight in the entrepreneurial space. So from that, move into the geopolitics, where we have certain regions in the world that are investing heavily in femtech, specifically, for example, for reasons of recent democratization of the country of these countries, or for specific visions of these governments of supporting women or educating, so on and so forth. I could think of Saudi Arabia, that has a huge budget for femtech, for R&D related to femtech and to research in general. How do we tap into those more like specific, let's say, femtechs that are geography bound?
There are multiple ways. It depends what we're trying to achieve eventually. When you ask this question, well, let's say we are talking about a country that they have limited funds, they have limited awareness, they have limited understanding about women's health. What they are trying to innovate is what, and what are they planning to do with it? So, but here's my perspective on that. We are seeing movement in each and every country towards femtech and women's health. In the US, in Canada, in the EU extensively this year. And I believe every country is going to be involved, whether they like it or not, because if it's geopolitic or not, it's gonna lead to these countries to be involved because women are the continuity of society. And if we're
Mm,
not good, we're going to stop this. And the population will change. And how we are growing our next generation, and the next generation is going to be affected. I believe this is going to end up to have all the countries involved in femtech, involved in women health. And this is what's happening already. And the innovation is a must. There is no more running away from this fact. And I believe, to answer your question, everyone will follow eventually. There is no way that they want to stay just sitting on the side, just waiting until things changes.
mm,
Okay.
absolutely. Audience, feel free to write your questions in the chat. One last question from my side, which is not exactly from my side, from a friend who's hopefully
Okay.
working on her own femtech, but not deep tech business.
Okay.
Someone who has identified an unmet need or gap or pain point in their own life, what would be the most crucial first step they should take immediately after the notice phase to effectively transition to speak and act?
Validate your idea. So imagine I have a problem. Just give me an example from your side. I want to keep using the fibroid. Um,
Anemia in
yes.
women.
So I noticed that I have anemia. I scout the market. I don't find anything that could solve my anemia. And I'm not able to find a diagnostic tool for this anemia. Then it's my experience now. I go ask the question, is it true? Is there no solution out there that can diagnose, I can perform any sort of diagnostic for my anemia? Then is this true? This is what I need to do.
Is that
And
from our side?
I believe it was coming from Joanne.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. So once you identify the challenge, ask others. And once you ask others and you have also the same answer, start validating your idea. When I say validating, meaning by data, science, how you're going to patent it, how you're going to manufacture it, how you're going to engineer it, how you're going to commercialize it. Because if you have one of these missing, you will not succeed. So you have to make sure that your 4 pillars are there and you check the list properly. And once you do, then you start your structure. You can never go with a solution or a product to the market without knowing that it is going to work. And you make it work on these checklists that I mentioned. Everything is okay. You create your structure, you create your strategy. You don't guess along the way. You have to know ahead of time. And this is what's important.
Absolutely. I hope it's
I
been
have a question. So Hope, basically, what advice would you give to young women, right? Who want to innovate, but they don't have probably the background that you have, or kind of they don't have a background in tech, because we see that, this kind of fintech is, of course, taking off, and but they don't have this background, but they want to innovate, they have a health issue problem, or they see a health issue inside their family or in their circle, and but they don't come with that background. Where do they need to go for support or something like that? How they can initiate?
I believe the best place would be to go into accelerators or incubators, but even that, it's going to be maybe too much. It depends on their age. Just blend in into communities that are involved in this type of industries. And once we blend in these communities, the flow will be there. I met the other day a lady, she supports children and young children actually when they are innovating something simple at school. And what they do, they create workshops for them. They help them, even if it's not something that they would understand technically in science. They just elaborate this way of thinking just so they can understand what is innovating, and just communicate this within a community, having someone to talk to explain what do you have in mind, how you want to change that. For example, for us today, we launched the Femtech Mentorship Program, and this was simply for the idea that I've been seeing so many inventors, not just young, they are grown-up women that they come from different backgrounds. They don't understand what is femtech, but they want to change something. One of them was a mother who developed a product because she was encountering a lot of issues while breastfeeding, but she doesn't understand anything about R&D, about regulatory, about science, about data. So we decided to create some sort of programs that would help just mentoring them and guide them to the right place so they can do the right steps and start doing something about their ideas. So I would say mentors, advisors, communities, science communities should incubate these young talents and young innovators to be able to create one step at a time, because they are the future.
Thank you, Hope. And I have a last question, always thinking about the future, right? If you could give an advice on how we can redesign, right? Some parts of this ecosystem, okay, which makes this health, basically in terms of funding, for example,
Yeah.
government funding, what can we do there, right? To incentivize, to spotlight or kind of put more emphasis on researching different diseases which are affecting women or any type of diseases, but actually looking more to the anatomy of women, which is not hasn't happened that much so far. So funding is one. Second, probably is the healthcare system, and I would say both private and public, right?
Yeah.
And then is the I would say, in terms of funding, beside government funding, of course, investors, and not only this only to kind of women business angels, but also other VCs, traditional VCs, and then I would say education, right, which is important,
Yeah.
because if we educate at earlier ages, both boys and girls, I feel they will ask for it more and more. But right now, the education lacks. So if and you can add other parts in this ecosystem, but what would you do, like, if you have, let's say we give you the power, you are the emperor, right? What
Yeah.
one action you would take basically for all these parts of the ecosystem?
What is what? What should I do for
One action you would
action?
take to change,
Wow.
to redesign each part of this ecosystem.
Wow, that's a hard one.
Yeah, you see, when you have all the power, it's hard.
Yeah, I know that. But I'm just trying to think if I would say I would start with education because this is where everything starts. Funding and everything else comes after educating our young and our current generations because we are way behind when it comes to awareness. If you ask today the women population what is endometriosis, I don't know how many of them would answer that. When you ask about uterine fibroids, the same issue. When you ask what are your hormones level in your system, I don't know how many are able to track it, or if they know that they should track it, or if they know what's going on in their system when they are PMSing or in their menstrual cycles. So these kind of things and this awareness is totally missing. And I believe taking, if we have the power, I would just focus on education first and awareness and teach every day in every possible way so we can educate ourselves. Because once we know, this is how we will be able to create useful and good solutions that will change our now. And this is my answer to you.
Thank you, Hope and Erla, for the beautiful question. I have the last question of the session today, and it's an incredible question. Alejandra, please connect with me. I'd love to talk to you. She says, what advice would you give to researchers and inventors looking to commercialize their patented innovations in this segment and turn them into successful, scalable business? I absolutely love this question. So, hope to you, and then I would love to say something as well about this.
And I love it as well. So here's the thing. We have an idea. It's a patented invention. That's great. What do I do next? I have steps that I need to follow. I need to make sure that my idea is not only working in a patent, it's working from an engineering perspective. It's working from a manufacturing perspective. It's working from a market perspective. So when I launch it, it's going to work. Once I do my validation, then we start a step by step. I need to understand what is my regulatory process. I need to understand what kind of quality system I have to have in place so I can launch it. So preparing yourself properly and starting the process step by step is what will make your journey successful. So we always say start with an idea validation, move to a good R&D process. Once you finish your R&D process, and in parallel start building your regulatory, your quality management system. And after that, you go to phase 3, which is setting up your manufacturing structure, and finally, you are ready to launch. It is not a quick process. And you cannot launch as quick as this. It is a structured pathway that you have to prepare for and be very committed and dedicated to follow. And if you do, you will succeed, because the passion that is driving you to build all of this will lead you to success by a structured, good strategy and a good implementation process. Eventually, this is your success. And if you cannot do it alone, I will, the name is Alejandra, right? I will ask Alejandra just to connect with me and I will explain to her step by step how we can do this.
And Hope, do you, along the same question, do you, to Alejandra and other innovators, I'm a venture builder, venture manager, so I work in commercializing deep tech with a lot of companies and corporates. And I want to ask you, because you are the scientist, do you recommend, again, to Alejandra and other innovators and founders and researchers, spin out programs, corporate venturing programs that can allow them to go into the commercial phase without having to worry too much about, let's say, the commercial aspect, and worry about the tech and the product more, because that's what researchers and scientists like to do more? Do you recommend those types of initiatives slash models of working, or do you think they limit the researcher?
It depends. A program from a program varies, but I would say this: you cannot build alone. You need help. And having the right help that fits your vision is what matters. And I would say we already have, let's say, in Go Vertical, our accelerator programs. And in that process, we really help them step by step move from point A to point B. But these programs are not designed for everyone. These programs are designed to be specific for every type of industry, for specific type of people, for specific type of inventors as well. So I would advise them, look for the program where you see yourself fit, where you see you're going to preserve your vision, because your vision is what matters when you're preparing to launch your product, and you want to preserve this part, your vision, how you see your product going to the market the way you see it. But at the same time, it is structured in a very strategic manner that's people around you, accelerators, advisors, mentors, are going to help you reach that goal to succeed. And this is my answer to you.
Thank you so much, Hope. Thank you, everyone who's attended. Thank you for your questions. Thank you, Erla, and for the VOWI team for making everything go so smooth. Yeah, Erla, do you have anything you want to say? And then I'll leave the room for Hope to give us one last word before we close, and one last piece of advice to everyone, I guess.
Yeah, well, I just want to mention, and if Taran can help me put it here. We will run a campaign all over December, basically to kind of share innovation stories from these women, and might be women from you Hope, but women in your accelerator, Salmine, so women who have been part of this group, but also outside of the group. We want to shed more light to these amazing innovation stories that probably they are doing the work, but they are not putting themselves out there. And of course, we'll do a nomination within the group to also launch or announce the Innovator of the Year. So please, if you know stories, you want to nominate somebody or you will nominate yourself, please do that. We would appreciate.
Thank you, Ariela.
Thank you, Erla. Hope, is there any last word you want to leave us with?
I just want to tell every person who is in this, either viewing this session today or is here, that believe in every challenge that you are seeing around you or in your lived experience. And whenever we look into this and we have the spark of innovation, follow it until the end, because this would change your life. This is my personal experience when we founded Go Vertical, Michael and Hope, and Michael and Hope IP, and Michael and Hope Georgia, and today the Hope Project. We saw that little spark, and that spark changed everything in our lives. And I encourage every one of you to do that if you have the spark inside of you. And I would like to invite you to join our campaign tomorrow. We're fundraising for our preclinical testing trial for the uterine fibroid prevention method. And we hope we can succeed in bringing this incredible pathway to the market so we can prevent UTF all over the world once and for all.
Thank you so much, Hope. It's been such a pleasure to have you, and
Thank you, Erla.
you're an incredible inspiration. Again, thank you, Erla, and the team VOWI, and everyone who's here.
Thank you,
You can
Salmi.
find us on Voice of Women in Innovation. Feel free to connect, and we'll have more speaker series coming up. Have a
Thank
beautiful
you,
evening,
everyone.
everyone.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.